What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. First and foremost, y'all know the drill. Hit the subscribe button. Turn on those post notification bells so you know whenever I put out any content. Drop a like. Y'all know what to do, man. Y'all know y'all support is greatly appreciated from my end. Back here today, looking at another coaching candidate. As really heats up, man. It really heats up. Obviously, we've finally heard names that the Falcons are going to be interviewing. I guess you can say interviewing. And how much the interviews, matter or not, you don't know, because I'm going live either Saturday or Sunday. Gonna talk to a few people, but we're going to get on it, and we're actually going to talk about a certain candidate on live, and pretty sure you can all figure out who that's going to be. But with that being said, man, today taking a look at Bobby Slowik, offensive coordinator of the Houston Texans. So without further ado, man, let's get into Bobby Slowik, look at his resume. And the number one thing about Bobby Slowik is he played a very key role in the development and the amazing rookie season by C.J. Stroud this season with the Houston Texans. No one, I think, could have saw it coming when you were talking about right before the season started. But the Houston Texans, they're AFC South champions. They're in the playoffs. They're getting ready to play a playoff game this weekend versus the Cleveland Browns. So you got to look at that as a major factor of, what C.J. Stroud has been able to do. Bobby Slowik has a lot to do with it, and how he really did cater that offense to the strengths of a C.J. Stroud. And then when you look at a Bobby Slowik as well, he is another coach from the Kyle Shanahan tree. And we all know where Kyle Shanahan really got that kickstart to start up that tree. It was here in Atlanta in 2016. So, and we know what happened with the offense that year. Obviously, we'd love to forget how it ends, but, let's also not forget how we even got there in the first place and how amazing that offense was. So, when you look at it, and by the way, he's going to be running a variation of that offense as all the other coaches in the Shanahan tree do. So if you look at that Shanahan system, the offense ran, that is really the dominant premier offense in the NFL today. That is the offense that is shown to be one of the most successful in the NFL. And more so than ever, it is an offense that is efficient. And I think we all know what we need in Atlanta right now. And he has a history in working and coaching skill position players. He's a former wide receiver himself. So when you look at a Kyle Pitts, you look at a Drake London, you look at all these skill guys here, that need to be utilized. And then you go and you look at a Bobby Slowik, you maybe would think he might know a thing or two about how to get those guys involved. And then looking at his coaching history, started out with the Washington Redskins when Kyle Shanahan was there in 2011 to 2013. He was actually a defensive assistant at that time. So he has a little bit of experience working on the defensive side of the ball as well, even though his specialty is offense. He actually was out of coaching for a couple of years, but when Shanahan became the head coach in San Francisco in 2017, he called Bobby Slowik up and got him on that staff. He started out as a defensive quality control coach, became an offensive assistant. And then in 2021, he became a pass game coordinator for the 49ers and also played a big role in what we saw from Brock Purdy in 2022 and how efficient he looked as the 49ers quarterback, obviously setting the stage for what appears to be San Francisco having their guy, at least for what it looks like right now and heading into the future. Before he went to Houston, when DeMeco Ryans became head coach, who was the defense coordinator for San Francisco last year. And he became the offensive coordinator of the Houston Texans, and we all know what the story has been this year, how dangerous that Texans offense has been, and what's gotten Bobby Slowik into this position he's in right now of being considered on the higher end of the coaching candidates out there available. The pros that could come with a Bobby Slowik is number one. You look at the development of Brock Purdy and CJ Stroud, and you look at the one big glaring hole in terms of actual players is the quarterback. That is really what this team lacked. That's what held this team back from being an 11-win team this year, was we did not have the quarterback play. Desmond Ridder or Taylor Heineke, the quarterback play was just not there. But then you also obviously got to go and look at some of that, on coaching. So when you look at that, you bring a Bobby Slowik in here. He has shown that he can be the right guy to put a young quarterback in a situation where you can get the most out of him. You set him up pretty well. Whether that maybe be you do go out and you trade for a young guy, i.e. Justin Fields, or you're to pick your quarterback in the draft. Bobby Slowik has shown that he's going to cater to your strengths, or he's going to play a role in catering to your strengths, and he's going to, so that the team can be set up for success. Another thing, too, particularly in San Francisco, he's going to have a good idea being there with Kyle Shanahan and understanding the passing game on how to get a Kyle Pitts and a Drake London involved in the passing game. Get them the ball to where they can fully have their potential unlocked as pass catchers. Drake London, I think we know we have a dog in him. And Kyle Pitts, the potential is still there. And when you look at 2024, Kyle Pitts should be healthy, should be 100%. We do choose to retain Kyle Pitts on this team for next year, which at this point I probably would expect. You have to put him with a guy that's going to know how to utilize him. And then even talking about a Bijan Robinson and his ability to be a pass catcher out of the backfield, and then other guys as well. And then just looking at the success of other coaches under the Kyle Shanahan tree. You look at a Mike McDaniel in Miami. You look at, obviously, that entire Houston organization was established in San Francisco, from DeMeco Ryans to Bobby Slowik to other guys there as well. So you go ahead, you look at that, just to name a few. That Shanahan tree has shown that it can be truly successful in the NFL, especially on the offensive side of the football. You look at what's happening in Miami. You now look at what's happening in Houston. I know I would certainly want that here in Atlanta, but there are obviously some cons to it. Could be some potential downsides. And this is really the same one as Ben Johnson. He's unproven as a head coach, and from my understanding, he's never been one at any level. I don't even think he was a head coach in Pee Wee. And he only does have 1 year as the offensive coordinator, which I think is a big concern, considering could he use a little more time? Could he maybe use 1 more year as offensive coordinator of the Texans? And obviously, maybe even try to take that Texans team even further next year to where, maybe they can go and be set up to make an even deeper playoff run next year before making the jump to a head coach. And then he's known, primarily for his specialty in the passing game, but he's not really known for it so much in the running game. Now, granted, first of all, he did have Christian McCaffrey in San Francisco a little bit, but pass game coordinator. Now, granted, he probably has a little bit of idea. I don't know how big of a concern this necessarily would be for a Bijan Robinson, because there's not a guy on that Houston Texans team, at least in that running back room, that has anything close to the potential of Bijan Robinson. But then when you go and you look at a Tyler Algier, I think that's got to raise a concern or two about what could his role be on this team? You know, and a guy like Tyler Algier is obviously expendable. He can be replaced easily, but at the same time, that does have to raise a question or two. Is Bobby Slowik going to use him the way that he can be fully used? But with that being said, overall, if Bobby Slowik were to become our head coach, I'm not complaining about it in any way. He is what I would say should be on the top end. Matter of fact, he would be on my top 3 tree right now in terms of who I desire the most to be head coach of the Atlanta Falcons. I think we all see what he's done in Houston, and we know that this offense, it needs a rejuvenation. It needs someone to come in here and instill some life into it, and Bobby Slowik can do that. But with that being said, guys, that is it. I probably will put out a coaching candidate video tomorrow and on Sunday as well. However, I don't know if tomorrow night or Sunday I'm going to go live, and I'm obviously going to talk about the big one we've all been hearing. We've all, been discussing all over social media. We're going to bring the conversation here. I'm actually thinking of doing it tomorrow night. And going to try to get some special guests on as well. I might also do it Sunday. But one of those days, man, we're going to get on here, and I'm just go ahead and say it. We're going to talk all about Bill Belichick. But with that being said, I'll see you guys tomorrow. And yeah, see you in the next one.